When I published the first video of this series, I didn't exactly know what I was doing. I knew what I wanted to say. I knew the themes. I knew the form. But I didn't know if there was someone on the other side who needed to hear what I needed to say. Now I know. Because you wrote. Not in the polite comments that say good video and disappear. In the comments that take time. That are more than 3 lines. That start with, I've never told anyone this, but, and then share something that took courage to write in an open text box for the world to see. This video is about that. About what happened between the first and the 5th episode of this series. About what you brought that I didn't expect. And about what remains, not as a conclusion, but as the beginning of something that is not yet finished. Invisible Inheritance wasn't a series about what I know. It was a series about what we are still learning to see together. Let me tell you what I saw in each one. In 6 or 9, what appeared most in the comments wasn't disagreement. It was recognition. People sharing that they had the same discussion with the same person for years, and had never thought that both were looking from different angles. That they had never asked the real question, where did you learn to measure this? This showed me that the simplest idea of this series was also the most urgent. Most people were never taught to question where their own certainties come from. And busy, exhausted, the comments were the longest of the entire series. People who weren't sleeping, who checked emails at 3 in the morning, who cried while watching, not out of sadness, but out of recognition, out of relief, out of finally having a name for something that hurt for years without a name. In the question that imprisons, the theme that generated the most comments about relationships. Not about work or politics as I expected, about marriages, about how certain questions created years of doubt about one's own perception, about how devastating it is to grow up in a family where questions were never to understand. They were to confirm what was already decided. And when the body speaks, something different happened. The comments were shorter, more contained, as if the theme was too close to be elaborated. But what appeared, even briefly, was heavy. Many people recognized someone specific in the 5 signs. And many recognized themselves. And that was the hardest to read. In the father's curve, the most emotional comments of the entire season. Children who called their father after watching. Children whose father had already passed away and who wrote farewells that were never said. Fathers who watched with their child beside them. People who realized, for the first time in words, which phase of the curve they were in. What you put in this space is what made this series real. This series has a name that I want to explain now, after you've watched all the episodes, because explaining before would have been different from explaining after. Invisible Inheritance is everything you received before you could choose to receive it. Not the inheritance that appears in the registry. The other one. The one no one would invent. The one no one signs. The one transmitted in silences, in automatic patterns, in fears that appear without a declared origin. In ways of loving that were never chosen but are there, operating, shaping, passing on to those who come after you. Each episode explored a facet of this inheritance. The lenses through which you were taught to see. The relationship with productivity that someone deposited before you could question it. The language that shaped what you can or cannot say. The body that learned patterns before the mind had words for them. And the man who came before you, who also received, also carried, also passed on. Invisible Inheritance is not a destiny. It's a starting point that you can finally see. And seeing changes everything. Not all at once. Not with a video or a season. But seeing is the beginning of choosing. And choosing, even partially, even with difficulty, even one day at a time, is the only real form of freedom that exists within the life you already have. This season didn't cover everything. Intentionally. There are inheritances we haven't touched. and that need to be touched with the care and depth they deserve. The inheritance of money. What you learn money is, and how much that still determines decisions you believe you're making completely rationally. The inheritance of the mother, which deserves its own series, because it's completely different from the father's curve, equally powerful, equally silent, and rarely discussed with the honesty it demands. The inheritance of failure, what you were taught to do when things don't work out, and how that response shaped in childhood still operates in your 30s, 40s, 50s. The inheritance of relationships, how you learned love works, and how much that inherited model is updated or obsolete for the life you're living now. The inheritance of the body, not the body language of others, yours. What you were taught to do with pain, with pleasure, with need, with limits. If you want to continue this conversation, I'm going to speak directly now, without structure, just what needs to be said. You've come this far, to the closure of an entire season about things that hurt in specific ways, about patterns that are hard to see because they are part of who you think you are, about inheritances that no one asked for and that many carry without knowing they have the right to examine. This is not easy. It's not easy to sit with this discomfort. It's not easy to see the father as human when he was a hero or villain for so long. It's not easy to admit that part of your exhaustion is an escape disguised as dedication. It's not easy to recognize in a diverted look or a calculated silence a pattern that is diminishing you. And yet you stayed. You watched. You commented. You shared with someone who needed it. Or you didn't share, but kept the video in your head for days. That's the same thing. Awareness doesn't solve everything, but nothing changes without it. You won't leave this season transformed in a way that can be measured in a week. Real transformation is slow. It's full of relapses into the old pattern. It's 2 days of clarity followed by a week of confusion. It's realizing you did exactly what you wanted to stop doing and choosing again, with less judgment this time. But now you have something you didn't have before you started, a vocabulary, a way to name what was once just a nameless weight. And weight with a name weighs differently. It can be examined. It can be questioned. It can, with time and courage, be put in the right place. You didn't choose the starting point, but you are choosing, now, by getting here, where you will go from this point. Invisible Inheritance, Season 1, is closed. 5 episodes. 5 faces of the same thing. A single question underneath it all. What are you carrying that you didn't choose? And what will you do with it now that you can see? If this series touched on something, share it. Not for the number of views, but because there's someone in your life carrying the same weight without having a name for it. And sometimes all it takes is someone sending a link and saying, I think this is about us. In the comments of this video, tell me one thing. What was the moment of this season? A passage, a phrase, an idea that made you stop? That stayed after the video ended? That you took to a conversation or into a sleepless night? I read. I keep. And if there's a season 2, and I believe there will be, it will start from what you leave here. Understanding where you came from changes where you go. Invisible Inheritance, Season 1.